what if they had still been out here walking around somewhere? How would people know that they missing when nobody did anything for 20-something years? And now that y'all are, it's hard for people to believe that the police would treat somebody like that all them years. And now, out the blue, y'all want to say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then turn around and say, okay, well, we don't want to talk about that case no more. How y'all don't want to talk about the case no more? How y'all don't want to talk about it no more? This y'all the police. We can't go around knocking on people's doors. Yeah. We can't do that.
Hello, and welcome to Unresolved. I am your host, Michael Whelan. This episode serves as a bit of a follow-up to the last two episodes, which focused on the case of missing Augusta, Georgia teenagers Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook. I debated making this a simple update, but I think that this will contain some essential information. In the time since I recorded my original two episodes, I have learned some new things, which I'll try my best to detail throughout the episode. Most of it concerns the early investigation to find the twins, and the blame for the mishandling of the case which has been thrown around in the years and decades since. I was able to speak to Shanta Sturgis, the twins' younger sister, and you'll be hearing from her throughout this episode. Before I get started, I want to let you know how you can support the family of Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook. I, alongside the producers and host of the Fall Line podcast, have started an online fundraising campaign. Hosted on youcaring.com, our goal is to put up a billboard in the area where the twins went missing, in either the Laney Walker district or the neighborhood of Bethlehem. Since the local authorities seem immune to announcing the reward fund, which has been established to help solve the case, we're trying to help announce it to the area ourselves. I'll include a link on social media and in the show notes, but you could also find it at the following link, which contains no spaces. That is www.youcaring.com/Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook -10900923. Again, you could find that link on social media or in the show notes of this podcast. I'll include some additional resources and information at the end of the episode, ways that you can help out with this case and help it gain some local and national attention. But for now, let's dive right into the episode itself. On March 18th, 1990, teenage twins Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook set off from their home on Augusta's Cooney Circle. They left that Sunday afternoon to pick up $20 from their godfather, a family friend named Ted, who lived approximately 2 miles away in their old neighborhood of Bethlehem. When the twins failed to return that evening, their family received a less than stellar response from law enforcement. They were told that they had to wait 24 hours to report the twins missing. So they waited. When they finally reported them missing on Monday evening, they were able to file an incident report, but the detective in charge of their case would not come out to collect personal statements from the family until later that week. From the get-go, it seems like this family, which was a large family living in a poor area of Augusta, Georgia, would receive very little help from the local authorities. This made itself crystal clear when early on in the investigation, the detective announced his belief that the twins had run away. Despite there being very little proof to back this up, he made this assertion based on some flippant comments made at the twins' high school, and perhaps his own prejudices. You see, this detective handled almost all of the area's missing teenager cases. The vast majority of these cases were runaways, approximately 90 to 95% of which would return home in a period of weeks. Perhaps, based upon the age of the twins, he was less inclined to look for them, believing them to be simple runaways. A little over a year later, in April of 1991, just days after the twins would have turned 17, this detective met with the family once again. He informed them that because of their age, and Georgia's state laws regarding runaway teenagers, they could no longer be forced to return home. Just like that, the case was closed. 2 years after this, in 1993, the case of the twins was closed in the database of NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This generally only happens whenever a case is solved. The police force would have had to have made contact with NCMEC to permanently shutter the file. 25 years later, the family has still not been able to discover how or why the NCMEC file was closed. NCMEC has documents showing who said what and when. They just can't, or won't, disclose this to the family. The search to find Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook would remain closed until 2013, when Sheriff Richard Roundtree was elected in Richmond County. Shantae made contact with his department, hoping that a new administration would be able to right some wrongs. Thankfully, Sheriff Roundtree and his officers agreed to take a new look at the case, and what they found was pretty disturbing. As I detailed in the last episode, they used the term unsettling to describe the case being closed on nothing more than hearsay. That last word has become synonymous with the story of the Millbrook twins. Hearsay. The definition of hearsay is, and I quote, information received from other people that one cannot adequately substantiate. Synonyms include rumor, gossip, tittle-tattle, scuttlebutt, idle talk, tall tales, the grapevine, etc. I could go on. It is that word which provides the basis for today's episode. Hearsay. In the last episode of Unresolved, part 2 of the Millbrook case, titled The Unknown, I tried to address this hearsay. Do you remember when I tried to detail who said what and when? What I called the he said, she said period of time during the investigation? It is what the family of the twins has had to rely on for over 20 years. Since the twins went missing in March of 1990, they have had to deal with a constant back and forth between fact and fiction. When the detective originally in charge of the case labeled them runaways, the family had to combat these rumors head on. You see, the twins had no real friends or family outside of Augusta to turn to. They had no resources outside of the $20 they had picked up from their godfather that afternoon. They had no identification, being only 15 years old, and their social security numbers have never been touched. Basically, the detective took a couple of statements from classmates and school officials at the high school the twins had been attending for less than a year, Lucy Laney, and ran with it. In the second part of the Millbrook story, I tried to detail who said what and when. I talked about the split investigation between the detective who was officially in charge of the case and a juvenile probation officer who agreed to help out for some unknown reason. It turns out that almost all of this information is based on hearsay. You see, the juvenile probation officer, who handled many unruly teenagers in the area, agreed to help out with the case as a family friend of the twins' mother, Mary Sturgis. He lived in the neighborhood and simply wanted to help out. The detective who officially handled the case, whose name is on the original case documents, has tried to make it seem like this juvenile officer is responsible for the mishandling of the case. But, as I have since learned, based on conversations with both Shantae and the producers of The Fall Line, this is only based on his recollection of events. Shantae really wanted the chance to correct this, so this past Monday, President's Day, we agreed to meet up and discuss the case once again. She was kind enough to talk me through this chapter of the case, and really helped clarify some things for me. During our conversation, you may hear some background noise, but that's just Shantae's kids and grandchildren playing. It was a federal holiday, so they were out of school and Shantae was babysitting. Apologies in advance if it's distracting.
It was actually only one investigator. The investigator that had the case gave my sister and them paperwork over to a probation officer, a juvenile probation officer. And the juvenile probation officer shouldn't have never had their case file because they was never in any kind of trouble. So we never found out why he gave it to him, but the investigator that gave it to the probation officer is saying that the probation officer, I don't know if I can say his name or not, but he's deceased and he can't speak for himself. So this investigator is basically trying to put everything off on this probation officer, saying that the probation officer had been in contact with my sister and them the whole time, and that my sister and them told him that they was trying to get to Texas, which that was never confirmed, and I just don't believe that because it wasn't no kind of social media going on back then. It wasn't no computers, no nothing for them to be even in contact with nobody in Texas. So why would they want to go to Texas? We wasn't from Texas. We were from Thompson, Georgia. So what was in Texas that they was trying to get to? We think he just made the whole thing up because he never did an investigation on it. And when we went to meet with Roundtree confirmed everything that we had already knew, that he never did an investigation. He did go to the schools and talk to some of the kids at the school, but he never went and talked to anybody else that was in contact with them except for my goddad. And when he contacted him, he verified that they did come to his house that day. Also, he never went and talked to the lady at the gas station. He never went and spoke with my sister. He never went and spoke with Miss Agnes Jones. He never went and spoke with my cousin. All those people that he never went and spoke to saw them that day. But the lady at the gas station was the last person that seen them because that was the last place that they went was that gas station. But that was the main thing right there. It was only one investigator, and he didn't do his job. He basically didn't even like his job, to tell you the truth. And he told that to the podcasters that he didn't know why they put him on that case because the case, he think they put him on that case or in the missing persons case for that matter because he didn't have kids that he can go home to kill, whatever that means.
That's a weird comment to make.
Exactly. So when he said that, they asked him, did he think my sister and them was alive? He started laughing and said, if you go out there and find 2 dead twin bodies, you call me back and let me know, and start laughing again. I don't think that was funny. In fact, my sister and them case wasn't the only one he treated like that. The girl, Tiffany Nelson, who went missing back in the 90s, he treated her case as if she ran away and she was only 9 years old. So what I'm thinking, he based it off of their color, and I think he based it off of where we lived at the time. We stayed in the project, and they were black females, and he could care less about looking for them. Tiffany Nelson also is a black young female that he said ran away from home at 9 years old. He treated her case as if she ran away, and she didn't.
I was talking to Brooke and Laura, and they were talking about how the assumptions I had made about the detective handing off the case to the juvenile investigator, that's all based off of what the detective has said.
Right.
He was basically just pawning off all of his bad behaviors on someone else.
On someone else that can't speak for themselves. And I actually spoke with the probation officer's family member. And she also confirmed exactly what me and my mom already knew, that this man would help anybody that he could help because he wanted to help my mom. He told my mom that he was willing to help her because he found that it's strange for 2 people to come up missing and nobody hear from them again. So he wanted to help her, but he wound up passing away before he could. And he was never able to help, So he wanted to help. So why would you say that he was in contact with them when he was trying to help look for him out at the same time? The one thing I did want to clarify is this investigator. It was only one investigator. His name was Detective. He was the one that got all this going. The reason why nobody's been looking for my sister and them all these years. They didn't want to help. And he's actually trying to put all of it on in the probation officer. I want to say his name, but then I don't want to get it out there, and then people start talking, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I talked to his daughter, and his daughter is the one confirmed that she said, that her dad was a good person, and that he would help anybody, and that they still getting calls from now, back then, from people who he helped through the years. Mm-hmm. They're still getting phone calls to this day. Want to thank him and want to tell them what kind of father they had or whatever, because they helped them or helped their children.
This has always been a point of confusion for me in this story, but Shantae's explanation really helped clear things up for me. So, the juvenile probation officer agreed to help out with the case and knock on some doors for the family. However, he never officially handled the case, and basically just went around asking some questions. Almost everything that has been said about him in the years since, such as the allegations that he laid eyes on the twins, that he knew they were trying to get to Texas, etc., is based off of what the original detective has since stated. The juvenile probation officer is no longer here to validate these statements. He has since passed away, so almost everything we know about that early investigation is based off of the original detective's remarks. This brings us back to today's focus, which is hearsay. All of this is secondhand gossip. Yes, it is the case file's original detective saying it, but he also has a reason to assign his incorrect statements to someone else. He handled almost all of the area's missing children's cases, and as we now know, he declared another missing black girl a runaway based off of very little information. That girl, 9-year-old Tiffany Nelson, is going to be the topic of my next episode, and I'll try to cover the similarities between this case and that one. The comments made by this original detective continue to loom large over the investigation. When the case was reopened in 2013, the Richmond County Sheriff's Office described its closing of the case as, quote, unsettling. They seem well aware that he closed the case based on very little information, and, in fact, Shantae has a story to share about that. When she and her family were able to meet with Sheriff Richard Roundtree, he apparently shared some pretty choice words about this detective.
He even had a stack of papers, a stack of files this high on his desk of the cases that this man had investigated. And he said had that man been working for him, he would have never been up under his leadership. He would have fired him right off the rip because the man did not do his job. He did a poor job of investigating missing people. Mm-hmm. He said he probably had 70, he told the podcasters, he probably had 70 of them runaways or missing people a month. And he got tired of going out there bringing them home, and they weren't going to do nothing but run away. Well, you didn't ever have any information saying that my sister then ran away from home. You never had any information saying that my sister then was unruly, as you say they were. So why would you call them unruly runaways?
So, where does the case stand now? Richmond County has admitted that the original detective did not do his job properly, and they've admitted the faults of the early investigation. However, despite the fall line investigating some really interesting avenues, pretty much all of which they've shared with Richmond County sheriffs, there seems to be no movement in the case whatsoever. Whenever I've tried to make contact with the sheriff's office to discuss the case, I've been forwarded to the desk of a sergeant who handles homicides in the area.
Sheriff's office.
Hi, my name is Michael Whelan. I am a podcaster, and I was hoping to speak to someone about the case of Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook.
Hold on.
To save us both some time, I'm going to skip ahead about 10 minutes.
You have reached the office of Sergeant Chris Langford.
I have not had a chance to speak to him as of yet, but I have left a couple of voicemails and I'm waiting to hear back. Shantae, the sister of the twins, has had a pretty similar experience. In fact, as of this episode's recording, she has yet to hear back about who is simply handling the case file. As far as we both know, there is no one in charge of the investigation. Well, in your communications with Richmond County, have they indicated that someone's still working on the case, or is it just...
I actually called down there like, what Today is Monday. I called down there Wednesday of last week, and nobody still ain't called me back yet because I want to know the same thing. If investigating Gotten is no longer over, because we was trying to figure out why he was over in the first place, but they actually told us that they had a shortage on investigators or whatever, and that's the reason why they put a homicide investigator over the missing people case. I guess they put him over the case, and now he's no longer over the case. So I called down there to ask him who did they put in the place of who's going to be the investigator over, who's doing what on the case, what have they found out that anything, or are they doing anything or whatever. The lady told me, well, let me connect you to somebody, so she connected me to Investigator Sylvester. So I left a message for Sylvester to call me back, let him know what it was about, Jeannette and Dannette Millbrook case, that they're my sisters, you know. We're trying to find out who's going to be the investigator over the case. I know it's a cold case, and they have cold case investigators, so who's going to be over it? He never called me back.
It seems like, for Shanta Sturgis, every step forward is another step back. When the case was reopened in 2013, there seemed to be progress for the first time in 23 years. Then, there came a period of silence, in which the police released no public statements and seemed to get nowhere. After reaching out to the podcast Thin Air and the Trail Went Cold, Shantae got the story of the twins out into the public sphere. When I reached out to Shantae last year, after moving to Augusta, I discovered that there was a podcast in the works about the case. The host of The Fall Line, Brooke and Laura, have proven invaluable to Shantae. During our conversation, she lovingly refers to them as the people who have helped the case more than anyone else. More so than even the police in charge of investigating the case. However, since The Fall Line began releasing episodes about the case, the Richmond County Sheriff's Office has cut off most contact with Shantae. They have stopped releasing statements about Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook in the press. They have pledged no support to the reward fund for information, refused to publicize the reward fund, and now seem immune to simply answering phone calls about the case.
Because for a long time, my family thought that nobody cared. And these people showed us that it is people that out there that do care. So we trying to get them to do the right thing. It's a reward out here. Even if y'all can't match the reward, why not announce the reward money that is there? It's $8,000 that's out there that we trying to get somebody to, announce. I can't go around just putting out flyers by myself. I mean, I asked for help. I went on Facebook and asked friends, family members, whoever, to come out and help. The only people that helped me was my children. So, my sister, she went and put a couple of them out places, but that was about it. And you, when you came out, you was the only one that came out and met me to put out the flyer. I couldn't get nobody else, so I do what I can. I work in 2 jobs, trying to make, ends meet. But I still took out the time to go do it because we want to know what happened. I ask myself every day. I got the picture, screened on my computer. And every time I look at it, I'm still asking what happened. And I know it's somebody out there that knows something.
Yeah.
So they got this reward money out there. Why Richmond County won't help announce it? When we had that meeting, Richard Roundtree said out of his mouth, him and Investigator Gotten said that they was going to treat this as if it was their own family. Well, this is how y'all treat y'all family, then I wouldn't want to be in y'all family because y'all ain't doing nothing.
Shantae has always held out hope that she could hire a private investigator, but she has never had the means to do so.
I just want them to try to help us, somebody to try to help. I got a message from a lady about 2 nights ago, and she asked me, she said, have y'all ever tried to get a reward up, or not actually a reward, like do a GoFundMe or something to go towards a private investigator to investigate Richmond County, because it's a reason why they keep doing what they doing. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I have always had that thought. But we didn't have the money. They even told us that when I called down there one time some years ago. I say about 10, 11 years ago when I called down there, they told me how, if you don't like how my people did, he said he didn't appreciate me calling his workers liars. And for me, if I didn't like the way they was doing things or handling things, to hire my own private investigator. And I was like, well, if we had the money to do it, we would, because y'all ain't doing, I said the S word. Y'all ain't doing diddly squat anyway. So yeah, we might as well try. So we done got told my mom kids got taken away from them. I got told they had been adopted or they was in foster care. I'm talking about so many things I done been told by these people at Richmond County Sheriff's Office. So it ain't even funny.
Despite her busy life, juggling her 2 jobs with children, grandchildren, and other family members in need of help, Shantae continues to work for a resolution in this case. Shantae is hoping to hold a candlelight vigil for her older sisters on the weekend of March 18th, the 28th anniversary of their disappearance, which is a little under a month from now.
So they're trying to get a church to, I forgot the name of the church. It's on 12th Street though. They're trying to get them to let us do a visual over that way. But if not, we're going to try to do the visual across the street from the gas station. It's a little open field across from the gas station that they got missing from. Or we're going to try to do it in that parking lot. But I told them I think it's best for us to do it in the field across from the store, because it's like, bigger or whatever. And then won't interfere in the people coming to get gas or what have you. So it's going to be on the corner of 12th and Martin Luther King. It's going to be March the 18th. I just don't know the exact time. They're thinking afternoon time, but I'm not quite sure the exact time is going to be, but it is going to be on the 18th of March. And it falls on a Sunday. And they went missing on the Sunday.
If you live in the vicinity of Augusta, Georgia, and are interested in meeting Shantae and helping support the family, you could head to the Facebook page set up by Shantae, titled Missing Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook. She'll be posting any updates for the candlelight vigil there, and will respond to any questions or comments as soon as she can. Other than that, if you are interested in helping spread the word of the missing Millbrook twins, you can continue to reach out to Richmond County. Tell the sheriff's office you want them to be more involved in the case. Tell local media personalities that you want the case to be covered in the news. Spread the word to family and friends. Also, be sure to check out the You Caring fundraiser, which I have started alongside Laura and Brooke from the Fall Line. Our goal is to help raise a billboard in the area where the twins went missing, to not only remind the area of their open case, but to let them know that there's an $8,000 reward for any information that leads to closure for Dannette and Jeannette Millbrook. I'll be back this weekend, bringing you another unsolved Augusta case, that of 9-year-old Tiffany Nelson. But before I go, I want to end the episode on a remark from Shantae that brought a very sad smile to my face. It's these kind of remarks that I hope remind everyone that these cases are very real. Those involved are real people, affected by real tragedy. As much as storytellers like myself try to make these stories presentable and entertaining, at the end of the day, these are all real people. Shanta Sturgis, the younger sister of the Millbrook twins, is no exception.
And I wish I could... Hold on, excuse me. I wish I could find a way to go out there and look for them myself.
Yeah.
If I had 1,000 of me, I'd put one in every city.
Well,
I'm serious, I would.
yeah.
If I could. Sometimes I get a little choked up talking about it because it just makes me mad.
Yeah.
I be wanting to yell and cuss and carry on, but I know.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're always so composed. It's like every time you talk about it, I'm like, I would have gone insane a long time ago. So
Well, believe me, I want to, but I pray. You get what I'm saying? I pray. I don't go to church. I go every now and then, but I don't go. But I still talk to God, and I talk to Him every day. I know some people probably saying, "No, she's crazy." They see me like mumbling or moving my mouth or something, but it's not that. I'm that's who I talk to. My kids be like, "Who you talking to, Mama?" I be like, "I'm talking to God," because that's the only person that I can talk to about my problems, and that's one of my problems. If I could have 1,000 of me, I would put them in different cities to go out and try to find them. But I can't. So I can only do as much as I can, and that's to keep their name out there, to keep people knowing that they out there somewhere. And hopefully NICMEC is supposed to do another age progression on them next month. Hopefully that goes through and they do that, and then it'll be different flyers out with what they would look like at 44 years old, because they finna be 44 April 2nd.